Imagine being so talented that an entire continent claims you as their basketball savior. Then imagine fumbling that goodwill so spectacularly that the same continent wants to revoke your passport.
NBA superstar Ben Simmons has attracted international attention after a video message.
And they didn't let me in, or him. That's crazy. Or this guy.
Ben Simmons has sensationally accused Crown security staff of racial discrimination.
That's Ben Simmons, Australia's golden child turned national embarrassment. The #1 pick who had everything, the size, the vision, the athleticism, and somehow became the most hated athlete in a country that worshipped him. This is about betrayal, broken promises, and why an entire nation turned its back on their once beloved star. Section 3 will shock you. The Rise, Australia's basketball messiah. Let's rewind to when Australia actually loved Ben Simmons. And they didn't just love him, they were obsessed.
They're huge fans. They want to see guys play hard and be aggressive and win. And that's the mentality our team has right now.
Ben was the chosen one. 6'11" point guard with Magic Johnson vision and LeBron James athleticism. He was Australian basketball's great hope, the guy who'd put the country on the global map. When he got drafted first overall by the Sixers in 2016, Australia erupted. Finally, they had a legitimate NBA superstar who could compete with Team USA. The expectations weren't just high, they were astronomical. Australians saw Ben as the player who'd lead them to Olympic gold, who'd make basketball matter in a country dominated by rugby and cricket. He was supposed to be the bridge between Australian basketball's past and its golden future. And early on, Ben delivered. Rookie of the Year, All-Star appearances.
2018 Kia NBA Rookie of the Year is
Ben Simmons.
The Sixers became legitimate contenders. He was doing everything right. The flashy passes, the lockdown defense, the triple-doubles. Australia was proud. They had their guy. But here's the thing about pedestals. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. And Ben Simmons was about to learn that lesson in the most brutal public way imaginable. Because what Australia didn't realize was that their hero was about to abandon them when they needed him most. So Ben's riding high, Australia's celebrating their golden child, and everything seems perfect. But what happens when your national hero starts making excuses? What happens when commitment becomes optional and pride becomes negotiable? That's when the love story turns into a horror show. The betrayal. Olympics abandonment. Here's where the relationship fractured beyond repair. Tokyo Olympics, 2021. This was supposed to be Australia's moment. Their best Olympic basketball team ever assembled. And Ben Simmons, he pulled out. Now injuries happen, circumstances exist. But here's what made this unforgivable, the timing and the excuse. Ben had just come off the most humiliating playoff collapse in modern NBA history. The Hawks series where he passed up a wide-open dunk, where Doc Rivers publicly questioned if Ben could be a championship point guard, where Joel Embiid basically blamed him for the loss on live television. Ben's confidence was shattered. His reputation was in ruins. So what does he do? He bails on Australia. He tells them he needs to work on his game and focus on his mental health. And on paper, mental health is valid. Nobody's arguing that. But here's the problem. Australians watched him skip the Olympics, claim he needed time to fix his shooting, and then showed up to Sixers training camp having apparently worked on nothing. No improved jumper, no mid-range game. Nothing had changed except now he was refusing to play for Philadelphia too.
We call this a punk move. Listen, if you're not ready to play, you would get more respect from the people if you just say, I'm not ready to play, and don't say nothing else. Don't be shooting and saying, I'm coming back, I'm gonna do this. That was a punk move. Reggie's absolutely right.
He went from, I need time to work on my game, to, I'm sitting out indefinitely because my feelings are hurt. Australia felt used. They felt lied to. Because if he was really working on his game, show us. If you really needed that time, prove it was worth abandoning your country. But he didn't. He just disappeared when they needed him most. And the worst part? Australia still qualified for the medal rounds without him. They played their hearts out representing a country that Ben apparently couldn't be bothered with. The contrast was brutal. His teammates showing up, grinding, while their supposed superstar was at home doing absolutely nothing productive. That's not a break. That's betrayal. Olympic abandonment was strike one. But maybe, just maybe, Ben could have recovered from that with time, accountability, and actual improvement. Instead, he doubled down on every bad decision. Because apparently when you're in a hole, the smart move is to keep digging until you hit magma. The downward spiral, excuses, and entitlement. After the Olympics debacle, Ben had a choice. He could own his mistakes, work relentlessly to improve, and rebuild trust. Or he could become the poster child for entitlement and excuse-making. Guess which one he picked? The Sixers drama was comedy gold if it wasn't so pathetic. Ben demanded a trade, refused to show up, and when he finally arrived at training camp, he literally got kicked out of practice for not trying. Doc Rivers, one of the most player-friendly coaches in the league, had enough and sent him home. Think about that. You're getting paid millions to play basketball and you're so mentally checked out that your own coach doesn't want you at practice. That's not depression, that's disrespect. Then came the excuses. Mental health became his shield for every criticism. And here's where this gets controversial. Mental health struggles are real and valid. Nobody's disputing that. But when you use mental health as an excuse to collect paychecks while refusing to fulfill your obligations, you're not raising awareness. You're weaponizing it. Australians watch this unfold with growing disgust. This was their guy? The one who had everything handed to him and couldn't handle adversity? The one making excuses instead of improvements? Meanwhile, Patty Mills, undersized, overlooked, grinding his entire career, was showing up for Australia every single time, carrying the team, playing his heart out. The contrast couldn't be starker. One guy embodying everything Australians value: toughness, loyalty, commitment. The other guy embodying everything they despise: entitlement, excuses, abandonment. And then, the final insult. Ben gets traded to Brooklyn, claims he's mentally ready to play, and immediately gets injured. Again, every time there's pressure, there's a convenient excuse. Every time commitment is required, there's a reason he can't deliver. Australia stopped believing him. They stopped caring. Because at some point, you realize someone isn't unlucky, they're unreliable. So we've got Olympic abandonment, endless excuses, and a pattern of behavior that screams unreliability. But here's the deeper question: why does Australia care so much? Why does one athlete's failure hurt an entire nation so deeply? The bigger picture: what Ben represents. This isn't just about basketball, it's about what Ben Simmons represented to Australia and how completely he failed to honor that responsibility. Australia isn't a basketball country. It's rugby, cricket, Australian rules football. Basketball has always been the underdog sport fighting for recognition. So when someone like Ben emerges, generational talent, global spotlight, he becomes more than an athlete. He becomes validation, proof that Australia belongs in the conversation. Patty Mills understood this. He played with pride, showed up consistently, and carried the Australian flag like it meant something. Joe Ingles understood it. Matthew Dellavedova understood it. These guys weren't as talented as Ben, but they had something he didn't: heart and accountability. Ben had every physical gift: the size, the speed, the vision. What he lacked was the mental toughness that Australians pride themselves on. Australia's identity is built on grit, resilience, and showing up when it's hard. Ben represented the opposite: quitting when challenged, making excuses instead of adjustments, prioritizing ego over responsibility. And that's why the hate runs so deep. It's not just that he failed, it's that he had everything and wasted it. It's that he could have been great and chose to be mediocre. It's that he asked Australia to believe in him and then gave them every reason not to. The tragedy of Ben Simmons isn't lack of talent, it's a lack of character. And Australians can forgive a lot of things, but they can't forgive someone who had everything and chose to give nothing back. What Ben Simmons probably still doesn't understand: talent without accountability is just wasted potential. Being gifted doesn't make you great. Showing up when it's hard makes you great. Australia didn't turn on Ben because he struggled. They turned on him because he quit. Because he abandoned them when they needed him most and then made excuses instead of improvements. Because he took their faith and treated it like it was a doormat. Your talent opens doors, but your character determines if they stay open. Ben Simmons had every door wide open, and he chose to walk away from all of them. Do you think Ben can ever redeem himself with Australia, or is that bridge burned forever?